There comes a moment, a sacred moment, when you look at your life and ask, why am I here? Not just on this earth, not just in this city, not just in this season, but in this very breath, right here, right now. And beloved, that moment is holy. My dear friends, my heart is heavy tonight, not with sorrow, but with the weight of urgency. There is someone under the sound of my voice who has been wandering, drifting, living day to day with no direction, no purpose, no meaning. You have smiled in the daylight, but cried yourself to sleep in the dark of night. You have succeeded in the eyes of man, but feel like a failure before God. Surrender to God's will is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. It is the daily decision to let go of our own desires, expectations, and blueprints, and to allow the hand of God to guide every step we take. It's not weakness, it is the most powerful act of faith a believer can make. In a world that screams for control, dominance, and self-will, surrender is a holy rebellion. It is the courage to say, not my will, but yours be done, even when God's plan doesn't make sense. It is laying down the pen and allowing the author of life to write the story. We often think we know what's best. We have dreams, we have goals, we have plans that look so good on paper, but deep inside we carry the ache of knowing that what we are chasing isn't filling the void, that emptiness isn't a sign of failure, it's a call to surrender. God won't compete with our idols. He waits patiently, lovingly, and sometimes painfully until we loosen our grip on the things we were never meant to hold. Surrender is not about losing everything, it's about releasing everything into the hands of the one who knows how to handle it better than we ever could. The truth is, you cannot walk in God's purpose while clinging to your own. His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are deeper than our thoughts. When we truly surrender, we stop trying to fit God into our lives and start fitting our lives into His will. It means giving Him your relationships, your finances, your career, your dreams, and yes, even your pain. Every broken piece, every unanswered question, every hidden scar, He wants it all. Because only what is surrendered can be redeemed. Only what is laid down can be raised up. Some of us are holding on to things that are destroying us. We're asking God to bless what He's trying to remove. We're praying for peace while fighting for control. That's not surrender. That's self-preservation. And God didn't call you to survive. He called you to live abundantly. But abundant life begins at the altar of surrender. You can't walk in God's fullness while dragging the baggage of fear, pride, or stubbornness behind you. The longer you delay surrender, the longer you delay your purpose. It's not a one-time event. Surrender is not just for the big moments when life brings you to your knees. It's in the small, quiet, daily choices. When you choose to forgive instead of holding a grudge. When you speak truth even when it costs you. When you let go of something good because God is calling you to something better. Every act of surrender is an act of trust. And every act of trust invites the supernatural into your natural life. You'll never know how close God is until you let go of everything else. There is beauty in surrender that cannot be found in control. There is peace in yielding to God that no amount of planning can offer. People may not understand. They may call it foolish. They may say, you're giving up too much. But they didn't call you. They didn't die for you. They didn't rise from the grave for you. Jesus did. And when you surrender to Him, you're not losing control. You're handing it back to the one who's had it all along. There will be moments when surrender feels like heartbreak. Moments when God asks you to let go of things or people you thought were permanent. It will feel like loss, but it is divine pruning. He cuts away what hinders to make room for what heals. Don't fear the pruning. Fear what happens when you resist it. Some doors are closed not to punish you, but to protect you. Some dreams are delayed not to hurt you, but to prepare you. You cannot receive the fullness of God's plan while clinging to pieces of your own. When you surrender, your posture changes. You stop striving and start abiding. You stop performing and start trusting. And in that space of total dependence, you begin to see God not as a distant ruler, but as an intimate Father. He's not out to take from you. He's waiting to give you more than you can ask, think, or imagine. But He can only fill what is empty. He can only lead what is yielded. He can only bless what is surrendered. God doesn't need your perfection. He wants your permission. Will you let Him lead? Will you place your life in His hands and trust Him even when the road is unclear? This is not the easy path, but it is the only path that leads to life, to freedom, and to purpose. And once you surrender, you'll find that the will of God is not something to fear. It's the safest, most beautiful place you could ever be. Radical obedience in faith is not convenient, and it's not comfortable. It's costly. It asks everything of you, and it gives everything in return. It's the kind of obedience that doesn't wait for understanding before stepping forward. It doesn't bargain with God. It doesn't delay. It doesn't hesitate. Radical obedience moves when God says move, even if it means leaving comfort, reputation, or logic behind. It is the kind of obedience that makes no sense to the world, but shakes the gates of hell and causes heaven to rejoice. There are levels of obedience, and many are content with the safe kind, the kind that fits within schedules, logic, and approval. But radical obedience is different. It's dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. It's disruptive to ordinary living. It's obedience that says yes before knowing where, when, or how. It's the obedience that Abraham showed when he left everything familiar for a land he'd never seen. It's the obedience that Noah showed when he built an ark while the skies were still clear. It's the obedience that Mary showed when she said, "Be it unto me according to your word," not knowing the weight that promise would carry. Radical obedience is birthed in trust. You cannot obey God radically if you do not trust Him deeply. It is impossible to lay down your will, your reputation, or your comfort without believing that what He has is greater. And the enemy knows this. That's why he fights so hard to plant seeds of doubt. He doesn't have to destroy your calling. He just has to make you delay your obedience. God doesn't bless hesitation. He blesses trust. We live in a culture that applauds bold ambition but shrinks back from bold obedience. We've been trained to follow our feelings, but feelings will fail you. God doesn't call us to follow feelings. He calls us to follow His voice, and often His voice will lead us into places that don't make sense, into risks that seem unreasonable, and into sacrifices that hurt. But every time we obey in faith, we open the door for the miraculous. Miracles aren't found in the comfortable. They're found on the other side of radical obedience. Some of the greatest breakthroughs you are praying for are tied to the obedience you are resisting. We ask God for blessings, but often ignore the instruction He gave. But obedience is the key. It unlocks doors no man can shut. It releases provision, healing, direction, and divine favor. The battle you're in may not be won with striving. It may be won with simple, radical obedience. It's not about understanding every detail. Radical obedience often begins with uncertainty. God didn't give Moses a full blueprint. He gave him a burning bush and a command. He didn't explain every consequence to the disciples. He simply said, "Follow me." And they left their nets, they left their boats, they left the familiar. That's what obedience looks like. It's letting go of the known to follow the voice of the one who knows all things. But don't be fooled. Obedience will cost you something. It may cost you relationships, approval, convenience, or even comfort. but it will never cost you more than disobedience. The price of ignoring God's voice is far greater than the price of following it. Obedience may feel like a burden in the moment, but it will become a blessing in the end. God is not trying to control you. He's trying to protect you, to position you, to promote you. Every act of obedience is a seed, and in God's time it will produce a harvest. If you want to walk in the power of God, you must walk in the will of God. And His will is revealed one step at a time through obedience. Radical obedience doesn't require you to see the whole staircase. It just asks you to take the next step. And when you do, you'll find that God meets you there. His provision follows obedience. His presence follows obedience. His promises are unlocked through obedience. This world is filled with noise, with distractions, with alternate paths that seem easier, but the path of obedience, though narrow, is the one that leads to life. When you obey, even when it costs you, you declare to heaven and hell alike, my faith is not just words, it is action. Radical obedience is not for the faint of heart. It is for the ones who believe that Jesus is worth everything because He gave everything. And when you obey Him with your whole heart, He will do more through your life than you could ever ask or imagine. So I ask you tonight, are you ready to live like you believe? Are you ready to lay down your fears, your pride, your need for control, and walk in surrender? Are you ready to obey God, not just when it's easy, but when it costs everything? Because that is where purpose is found. That is where heaven meets earth. That is where lives are changed. Not just yours, but the lives of those who will encounter the power of God through your. The world doesn't need more talent, more noise, more ambition. The world needs surrendered hearts. The world needs bold, unwavering, radical obedience. God is not looking for perfect people. He's looking for willing ones. He's looking for those who will say, here I am, Lord, send me. Even when the road is long, even when the answers aren't clear, even when the price feels high, because the reward is greater, the peace is deeper, the joy is fuller, and the purpose is eternal. So rise up, child of God. This is your moment. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Don't wait for more clarity. If God has spoken, move. If He has called, go. If He is stirring your heart, surrender. The time is now.